So DIC claims is going to be for death indemnity compensation, commonly referred to as death benefits. And the eligible claimants are going to be the same as an accrued claim. It's going to be a surviving dependent, a spouse. Is most often it's going to be a spouse or an underage dependent or a incapacitated dependent child or a surviving dependent parent. There again, in most instances, the eligible claimant will be the surviving spouse. And the same form that's used for the accrued claim is going to be used for the DIC claim, which is a 21P-534EZ. And in this case, you have a veteran who's no longer with us, and the cause of death is ultimately what we're getting at here. Did the veteran die because of his military service? Now, it could be because of a service-connected condition that the VA is linked to his military service, but we have to show somehow one of three things. One, that the veteran died on active duty. That's usually not the issue if you're talking with a VA attorney. Number two is you have to show that the veteran was rated at the 100% permanent and total rate with VA disability compensation for 10 years or more at the time of death. And then lastly, if you don't meet the eligibility under one of those two criteria, you have to show that the veteran's service-connected condition or a condition that should have been service-connected substantially contributed to the veteran's death. And that's where we get into the legal argument and where we get into case development. That leaves us room to argue. Whereas the first two, if a veteran died on active duty, it's going to be self-evident. And if a veteran's been service-connected at 10 years or more, that too will be self-evident. So you don't have much wiggle room to argue there. So where the attorneys usually are getting involved on a DIC claim is going to be that the service-connected condition or a condition that's attributable to active duty substantially contributed to the veteran's death. So for example, if you have a veteran who died from hepatitis and a chronic variant of hepatitis, but the veteran was also diagnosed with PTSD and service-connected with PTSD, and that veteran has a history of self-medicating with alcohol, we have been successful in demonstrating that that alcohol substantially contributed to the exacerbation of the death caused by the hepatitis. So just because hepatitis was listed on the death certificate doesn't disqualify a claimant from arguing that the alcohol contributed substantially to that death. And so there's a lot of wiggle room and room for an attorney to think outside the box of ways that the service-connected conditions could have caused the death. Another example would be where a veteran served in Vietnam and the veteran never filed for a claim once in his life. And let's say the veteran died from ischemic heart disease, and we'll call it a coronary artery disease, which is a variant of ischemic heart disease. And let's say after death, the veteran's spouse comes to an attorney and says, you know, he never filed a claim, am I entitled to anything? I say, well, what did he die from? They're right there in front of me. Death certificate says that the veteran's that the surviving spouse's deceased husband died from ischemic heart disease, coronary artery disease. We can file a claim after the fact, after death. We can file a claim for the coronary artery disease and cause of death. And because of Agent Orange laws, which is a different topic, because of Agent Orange laws and presumptive conditions, we could bring in that ischemic heart disease just by showing he spent a day in Vietnam, and then we would likely be successful and receive a favorable decision on the adjudication of the death benefits claim for ischemic heart disease because of the cause of death and because he served in Vietnam. So bringing everything full circle here, death indemnity compensation claim is for death benefits, and it presupposes the veteran's death and an eligible claimant, and that one of three things happened. The veteran died while they were on active duty. Two, the veteran was service-connected 10 years or more at the 100% permanent and total rate. Or lastly, three, the veteran's service-connected condition or a condition caused by military service substantially contributed to the veteran's death.